The dirt was still fresh on Mom's grave when the stranger in the cheap suit walked up to me. Everyone else had left the cemetery except for my brother Cal and his wife Monica, who were standing by their BMW, whispering and pointing in my direction. "Lois Parker?" the man asked, holding out a manila envelope. I nodded, my throat still raw from crying. He pressed the envelope into my hands and walked away without another word. My fingers trembled as I tore it open, right there beside Mom's headstone. The words hit me like a physical blow, complaint for declaratory judgment. Cal was suing me. For everything. The house, the bank accounts, even Mom's jewelry. He claimed I had manipulated her into changing her will while she was sick. Behind me, I heard Monica's laugh, that sharp, cruel sound I'd grown to hate over the years. Cal was nodding along with whatever poison she was whispering in his ear. I folded the papers carefully and walked to my old Honda. As I drove away, I whispered to myself, "You shouldn't have done that, Cal." But maybe it was time he learned exactly who he was dealing with. I needed to think, so I drove to the diner where Mom and I used to eat breakfast every Sunday. Sitting in our old booth, I let my mind drift back to the past year, the hardest year of my life. Cal hadn't visited Mom once during her final illness. Not once. While he was building his contracting business 3 states away, I was the one holding Mom's hand through chemotherapy. I was the one who moved back home, quit my job, and spent my savings on her medical bills. Monica had made it clear from the start that they were too busy to help. Cal called maybe once a month, usually asking if Mom needed anything, but never actually offering to provide it. Meanwhile, I was changing bedpans, driving to doctor appointments, and staying up all night when the pain got bad. One evening, about 6 months before she died, Mom had looked at me with those tired eyes and said, "Lois, honey, I already took care of it. I know how they are." I hadn't understood what she meant then. But the next morning she'd handed me an old file folder labeled Living Trust in her shaky handwriting. "Read this when you're ready," she'd whispered. The phone rang at 7 in the morning, 2 days after the funeral. Monica's voice was sickeningly sweet, like honey poured over broken glass. "Lois, sweetie, I think we need to talk. This whole lawsuit thing, Cal's just upset, you know? We can work this out like family." I knew better. Monica had never called me sweetie in the 15 years she'd been married to my brother. This was reconnaissance. "I don't understand any of this legal stuff," I said, making my voice sound small and confused. "I just want to grieve Mom in peace." "Of course, honey, but you have to understand, Cal has rights too. Mom probably didn't know what she was doing at the end. All those medications, you know?" The accusation stung, but I bit my tongue. Let her think I was weak. "Maybe you could just sign over half of everything? We're not greedy people, Lois. We just want what's fair." I let silence stretch between us before responding. "I need time to think." "Don't take too long," Monica said, and her voice turned cold. "You'll regret not playing nice." The line went dead. I smiled for the first time since Mom died. Uncle Jack's law office smelled like old leather and coffee. He'd been Mom's lawyer for 30 years, and mine too, though Cal didn't know that part. Jack looked up from the trust documents spread across his mahogany desk. "Your mother was very thorough, Lois. She saw this coming years ago." The trust was airtight. Mom had moved everything into it 18 months before she died. The house, her savings, even her car. As the sole trustee, I controlled it all. The old will Cal's lawyer would probably wave around in court was meaningless. "But they don't know about the trust yet?" I asked. Jack shook his head. "Your mother was very private about her affairs. Cal never bothered to ask, and she never volunteered the information." I signed the final documents that officially transferred everything into my name as trustee. Jack stamped them with his notary seal and filed them in his safe. "What happens now?" "Now we wait," Jack said, leaning back in his chair. "Let them show their hand first. In chess, the player who moves too quickly usually loses." I gathered my purse and stood to leave. "One more thing, Lois," Jack called out. "Your mother left explicit instructions about how she wanted this handled." The whispers started at Miller's grocery store. I was reaching for cereal when I heard Mrs. Henderson telling the cashier about that Parker girl who stole from her dying mother. At the post office, conversations stopped when I walked in. The librarian, who'd known me since I was 5, wouldn't meet my eyes. Even my cousin Becca avoided me after church on Sunday. Cal and Monica had been busy. They'd painted me as a manipulative daughter who'd isolated Mom from her loving son. The story they told made me sound like a con artist who'd swooped in to steal a sick woman's money. The worst part was seeing how easily people believed it. These were neighbors who'd watched me care for Mom, who'd seen me at the pharmacy picking up her medications at 2 a.m. But Cal had always been charming, and Monica knew exactly which people to approach. I was loading groceries into my car when I saw her, the social worker walking up my driveway with her clipboard and official badge. My hands were shaking as I drove home, but not from fear. I was angry now. They'd crossed a line. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them what dirty really looked like. Miss Parker, I'm Carol Williams from the Department of Social Services. We've received a complaint regarding possible elder abuse. I invited her in and offered coffee. Carol was younger than me, probably fresh out of college with textbook knowledge, but little real-world experience. She pulled out her clipboard and started asking questions. Were you your mother's primary caregiver? Yes, for 14 months. Did you have medical power of attorney? Yes, here's the document. For every question, I had an answer. Care logs showing when I'd given medications. Medical records proving I'd followed doctor's orders. Phone records showing I'd called Cal regularly to update him, even when he didn't call back. Then I showed her the videos. Mom had insisted I record her final messages to family and friends. In one, she looked directly into the camera and said, "Lois has been my angel. She gave up everything to take care of me. I don't know what I would have done without her." Carol's expression softened as she watched. She closed her clipboard and looked around the house. Clean, organized, filled with family photos and Mom's favorite things, all exactly as she'd left them. "You've covered everything, Miss Parker. I'll file my report." After she left, I called Uncle Jack. The courthouse was packed. Cal had brought 3 lawyers, including some hotshot from the city who wore a suit that probably cost more than my car. I sat with Uncle Jack, feeling small in my black dress, the same one I'd worn to Mom's funeral. Cal's lead lawyer stood up first, pulling out what he called the last will and testament of Martha Parker. It was dated 5 years ago, before Mom got sick, when she still thought Cal might grow up and become the son she'd hoped for. "Your Honor, this document clearly states that the estate should be divided equally between both children." The judge nodded and turned to Uncle Jack. "Response?" Jack stood slowly, pulling out a thick folder. "Your Honor, I present the Martha Parker Living Trust, established 18 months ago and properly notarized. This supersedes any previous will." Cal's lawyer's face went white. Across the aisle, I watched Monica's eyes start to twitch, that little tick she got when things didn't go her way. The judge examined the trust documents carefully. "This appears to be in order. Mr. Thompson, were you aware this trust existed?" Cal's lawyer stammered something about needing time to review. The judge gave him 2 weeks. As we left the courthouse, I heard Monica hissing at Cal in the parking lot. "Your Honor, my client has brought in a financial expert to examine how Mistress Parker managed her mother's funds during the final year of life." The expert was a weaselly man named Frank Morse, who looked like he'd learned accounting from a correspondence course. He started throwing around terms like fiduciary duty and financial exploitation, claiming I'd mismanaged Mom's money. Uncle Jack let him finish his presentation, then stood up with a box of receipts. "Mr. Morse, you claim Miss Parker spent $47,000 inappropriately. Can you tell the court what this receipt is for?" "It appears to be medical equipment rental. A hospital bed for the home, so Mrs. Parker didn't have to die in a nursing home, and this one, pharmaceutical expenses. Pain medication not covered by Medicare. Should Miss Parker have let her mother suffer?" For an hour, Jack methodically destroyed every one of Morse's claims. Every dollar I'd spent was documented. Every expense was for Mom's care or comfort. Finally, the judge looked at Morse with disgust. "Sir, you'll need to explain to this court why you've wasted our time with this analysis." Morse shuffled his papers and mumbled something about irregularities. The judge wasn't amused. "Your Honor, my client requests immediate possession of the family home for maintenance and security reasons." Cal's lawyer was getting desperate. They'd tried to prove I was a thief and failed. They tried to prove I was incompetent and failed. Now they wanted to force me out of the house where I'd cared for Mom. I watched Cal avoid my eyes as his lawyer spoke. He knew this was wrong, but Monica was sitting behind him, her hand on his shoulder, like a puppet master controlling her marionette. "The property is deteriorating under Miss Parker's care," the lawyer continued. "My client, as a licensed contractor, is better equipped to maintain the family residence." Uncle Jack didn't even stand up. "Your Honor, the deed to the property was transferred into the living trust 14 months ago. Miss Parker is the sole trustee and legal owner. Mr. Parker has no claim to the property." The judge looked annoyed. "Mr. Thompson, did you not review the trust documents I gave you 2 weeks ago?" "We're still analyzing the validity of that trust, Your Honor." Motion denied. The judge's voice was ice cold. "Mr. Thompson, I suggest you spend less time filing frivolous motions and more time reading legal documents." As we walked out, I saw Monica's face turning red with rage. She was losing, and she knew it. Uncle Jack called me that evening with interesting news. "Lois, remember that financial expert they brought in? Turns out he made some very sloppy claims about your brother's business practices in his report. I wasn't sure what he meant until he explained. Morse had tried to make me look bad by comparing my spending to normal business practices. But in doing so, he accidentally revealed some inconsistencies in Cal's contracting business. Payments that didn't match invoices, expense claims that seemed inflated. I took the liberty of forwarding those discrepancies to the appropriate authorities," Jack said. "Anonymously, of course. 2 days later, I was watering Mom's roses when I heard shouting from next door. Through the hedge, I could see government cars in Cal's driveway. Men in suits were carrying boxes out of his home office. Monica was screaming at Cal on their front porch. 'You said this was foolproof. You said she'd just give up.' I turned the sprinkler on and pretended not to notice. But I was smiling as I watched the IRS agents load their van. Some things were finally starting to make sense. Going through Mom's papers in the attic, I found something I'd missed before. Bank statements for an account I didn't recognize. The statements were addressed to Mom, but the signature card showed 2 names, Martha Parker and Monica Parker. Monica had somehow convinced Mom to add her name to a savings account 3 years ago. The statements showed regular withdrawals, always in amounts just under the federal reporting limit. 10,000 here, 9,000 there. I called the bank and discovered Monica had been draining the account for years, claiming she was helping with expenses while Mom was healthy. The current balance was nearly zero. I made copies of everything and drove them to Uncle Jack's office. He studied the statements with growing interest. "This is fraud, Lois, clear as day." "What do we do with it?" "We wait for the right moment," he said, locking the papers in his safe. "In poker, you don't play your ace until you're sure you can win the hand." I drove home thinking about Mom's trust in people, how easily she'd believed Monica wanted to help. It made my chest tight with anger. "Now we're turning the screws," Jack had said. I was ready to turn them tight. I was cleaning out Mom's bedroom when I found her old phone in the nightstand drawer. The battery was dead, but when I charged it, I discovered a voicemail I'd somehow missed. Mom's voice, weak but determined. "Lois, honey, if you're hearing this, I'm probably gone. I need you to know something important. Don't let them take this from you. You earned it. You sacrificed everything for me when no one else would. The trust isn't just money. It's proof that I knew who really loved me." Her voice broke a little. "Cal is my son, and I'll always love him. But Monica poisoned him against us years ago. Don't let guilt make you give up what's rightfully yours. You were my peace in the storm, baby girl." I played the message 3 times before I started crying. For months, I'd been doubting myself, wondering if I was being selfish for fighting Cal's lawsuit. But Mom had known this would happen. She'd prepared for it. I deleted Monica's number from my contacts and blocked her on social media. I was done being the understanding sister. I was done making excuses for Cal's weakness. They wanted a war, they'd picked the wrong daughter to fight. The letter appeared in the local newspaper on a Wednesday morning. It was from Agnes Murphy, a retired nurse who'd helped care for Mom during her final weeks. "I feel compelled to set the record straight about Lois Parker," the letter began. I have been a nurse for 40 years, and I have never seen a daughter show more devotion to her mother. While others were nowhere to be found, Lois gave up her career, her savings, and her social life to ensure her mother's comfort. Agnes described finding me asleep in a chair beside Mom's bed, holding her hand through the cot. She wrote about the way I'd researched every treatment option, fought with insurance companies, and made sure Mom had her favorite foods even when she could barely eat. Anyone suggesting that Lois Parker took advantage of her mother is either ignorant or malicious, the letter concluded. At church that Sunday, things felt different. People who'd been avoiding me started making eye contact again. Mrs. Henderson apologized for believing gossip. Even Becca came over and hugged me after the service. But as I was leaving, I saw Monica confronting Agnes in the parking lot, jabbing her finger and talking loudly. Someone was recording it on their phone. Monica's mask was finally slipping, and people were starting to see who she really was. Cal's lawyer called Uncle Jack with a settlement offer. They wanted to meet informally to work out a compromise. No more courtroom drama. No more public embarrassment. They're scared. Jack told me, when lawyers start talking settlement, it means they know they're losing. We met at a conference room in a downtown hotel. Cal looked exhausted, his face gray and drawn. Monica sat beside him, her mouth set in a hard line. Their lawyers shuffled papers nervously. "Let's be reasonable here," the lead lawyer said. "Miss Parker keeps the house. Mr. Parker gets the savings. Everyone walks away with something." I'd been practicing this moment in my head for weeks. I looked directly at Cal, my little brother, who used to build forts with me and share his Halloween candy. "No." "I'm sorry?" I said, "No, we're going to court. I want the record public." Monica's purse hit the table with a bang. "You stubborn, selfish." "That's enough," Uncle Jack interrupted. "This meeting is over." As we left, I heard Monica screaming at Cal. "This is your fault. You said she'd cave." I kept walking and didn't look back. The next hearing brought a revelation that shocked everyone, including Cal. Monica had been funding the lawsuit with money from their joint business account, money that should have been used for payroll and taxes. Cal's face went white as his own lawyer read the financial records aloud. Mrs. Parker withdrew $30,000 to pay legal fees without her husband's knowledge or consent. "Is this true, Mr. Parker?" the judge asked. Cal looked at Monica, then back at the judge. I trusted my wife to handle our finances." "Your Honor," Monica's lawyer interrupted, "my client was protecting their family's interests." "By potentially bankrupting them?" Uncle Jack asked mildly. "The business account shows insufficient funds for their upcoming tax payment." I watched Cal's world crumble in real time. His construction crew depended on those paychecks. His business license required staying current on taxes. Monica had gambled everything on winning this lawsuit. During the recess, I saw Cal storm out of the courthouse alone, leaving Monica sitting with her lawyers. She kept checking her phone, but he wasn't answering. The foundation of their marriage was starting to crack, and everyone could hear it. Our witness list was a parade of people who'd actually known Mom. Agnes Murphy testified about Mom's mental clarity and her explicit wishes. Dr. Peterson described how grateful Mom was for my care. The hospice chaplain talked about Mom's peaceful final weeks. Each witness painted the same picture: a devoted daughter who'd sacrificed everything for her mother's comfort, and a mother who'd made deliberate choices about her legacy. Mrs. Parker specifically told me she was worried about her son's wife, the chaplain testified. She said, "Monica only calls when she wants something." Monica's lawyer tried to object, claiming hearsay. The judge allowed it under the dying declaration exception. "She was very clear about her intentions," Dr. Peterson added. "Mrs. Parker told me repeatedly that Lois had earned whatever she inherited." I watched Monica fidgeting in her seat, whispering urgently to her lawyer. Every witness made her look worse, more grasping and manipulative. When the chaplain described Mom's final prayer, "Thank God for Lois who made this bearable," I saw tears in the judge's eyes. Monica tried to object again. This time, the judge's voice was sharp. "Sit down, Mrs. Parker." Monica finally snapped during my testimony. I was describing the night Mom died, how she'd squeezed my hand and whispered "thank you" as her last words. "That's a lie," Monica shouted, jumping to her feet. She was a leecher, a nobody who manipulated a sick old woman. The courtroom went silent. The judge's gavel came down hard. "Mrs. Parker, you will control yourself or be removed from my courtroom. This is ridiculous. Everyone knows she isolated Martha from her real family." Bang! Bang! "Bailiff, escort Mrs. Parker out. She's in contempt of court." As the bailiff approached, Monica turned to Cal. "Are you just going to sit there? Fight for us." Cal was crying, his face buried in his hands. He didn't look up as Monica was led away. "Your Honor," Monica's lawyer said weakly, "my client is under tremendous stress." "Your client just cost herself $500 in fines," the judge replied. "Continue, Miss Parker." I finished my testimony in the sudden peace of Monica's absence. For the first time in months, I could speak about Mom without someone trying to twist my words. "Your Honor, I have one final piece of evidence." Uncle Jack walked to the DVD player set up near the judge's bench. Martha Parker recorded this message 6 months before her death, when she was mentally clear and not under medication. The courtroom lights dimmed, and Mom's face appeared on the screen. She was sitting in her favorite chair, wearing the blue sweater I'd bought her for Christmas. "My name is Martha Parker, and I'm making this recording because I know there might be questions after I'm gone." Her voice was weak but steady. "I want everyone to understand that I made my decisions with a clear mind and a full heart." She looked directly into the camera. "Cal is my son, and I love him, but he made his choice years ago when he married Monica. He chose her family over ours. He only calls when he needs money, and he hasn't visited me once since I got sick." A gasp echoed through the courtroom. Cal's shoulders shook. "Lois gave up everything for me. Her job, her savings, her whole life. She was my peace when I was scared, my strength when I was weak. Everything I'm leaving her, she's already earned 10 times over." The video ended in silence. Cal was sobbing openly now. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, the judge began, "This court finds the Martha Parker Living Trust to be valid and legally binding." I felt Uncle Jack squeeze my hand under the table. "Furthermore, this court finds no evidence of undue influence, financial exploitation, or elder abuse. Miss Parker's care of her mother appears to have been exemplary." The judge turned to Cal's lawyers. "As for the frivolous nature of this lawsuit, Mr. Parker will be responsible for all court costs and reasonable attorney fees." Victory felt different than I'd expected. Instead of triumph, I felt empty and sad. This should have been about family, about love and loss and healing together. Instead, it had become a public spectacle of greed and betrayal. "The trust remains intact under Miss Parker's sole control," the judge concluded. "This case is closed." As people filed out, Cal's lawyer pulled him aside urgently. I couldn't hear the words, but Cal's face went even paler. Uncle Jack gathered our papers. "It's over, Lois." But something told me the real consequences were just beginning. The IRS audit results came back 2 weeks later. Cal's contracting business owed $127,000 in back taxes and penalties. Their personal accounts were frozen pending investigation. Monica had been claiming personal expenses as business deductions for years. Vacations disguised as client meetings, her car payments listed as equipment costs, even their grocery bills filed under office supplies. Cal called me that night, his voice barely a whisper. "Lois, they're taking everything. The house, the business trucks, even Monica's jewelry." I listened to my little brother cry and felt a stab of the old protectiveness. But then I remembered Monica screaming at me in court, calling me a leecher and a nobody. "What do you want me to say, Cal?" "I don't know. I'm sorry, I never wanted it to go this far." "But you let it," Monica said. "Monica isn't your sister. I am, or I was." The line went quiet for a long moment. "The business is finished," he whispered. "I'll probably have to declare bankruptcy." I hung up without saying goodbye. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. Cal showed up at my door on a rainy Thursday morning. He looked 10 years older than when this all started. Unshaven, thin, wearing clothes that didn't fit right anymore. "Lois, please. I know I don't deserve to ask, but we need help." Through the window I could see Monica sitting in their car, staring straight ahead. They'd probably lost their house and were living in motels now. "Monica maxed out all our credit cards trying to pay the lawyers," Cal continued. "We can't even afford groceries." I looked at my brother, really looked at him. This was the boy who'd defended me from bullies in school, who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd promised to always protect me. Where's the brother who sued me for Mom's money? I was wrong. Monica convinced me that you'd stolen. Monica convinced you to throw away your family. He started crying again, right there on my doorstep. I know I messed up everything, but you're all I have left. I closed the door and locked it. Through the window, I watched him stand there for 5 more minutes before walking back to the car. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Selling Mom's house was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but staying there felt like living in a museum. Every room held memories of her illness, of fighting with insurance companies, of watching her fade away. The realtor found a buyer quickly, a young family with 2 small children who promised to love the place as much as we had. I kept Mom's jewelry and photo albums, but everything else went to charity or the new owners. Standing in the empty living room for the last time, I could almost hear Mom's voice. Make something good from this, honey. Part of the sale proceeds went to establish the Martha Parker Memorial Fund at the local hospice. They'd provided comfort during Mom's final weeks, and I wanted other families to have that same support. The rest would help me start over somewhere new, somewhere without whispers and sideways glances. Monica tried to contest the sale through her lawyer, claiming the house belonged to the family. The court dismissed her motion without a hearing. As I signed the final papers, I felt something lift from my shoulders. This chapter was finally closing. The letter came on cream-colored stationery, addressed in Monica's distinctive handwriting. My first instinct was to throw it away unread, but curiosity won. Lois, it began, I hope you're happy now. You've destroyed my marriage and ruined Cal's life, just like you planned all along. I read the first paragraph and realized it was more of the same. Blame, accusations, and self-pity. Monica took no responsibility for the audit, the lawsuit, or the choices that led to their downfall. You poisoned your mother against us and stole what belonged to our children. I didn't read past that line. Some people never learn, never grow, never accept that their actions have consequences. I threw the letter into the fireplace and watched Monica's poison words turn to ash. The flames felt cleansing, like the end of a fever. My phone buzzed with a text from the realtor. Buyer wants to close early. Good news. I smiled and deleted Monica's contact information from my phone. She was part of my past, now, not my future. The cottage in the mountains was perfect. Small, quiet, surrounded by pine trees and far from all the drama. I'd found peace in the simplicity of my new life. A letter arrived from Judge Morrison, handwritten on official letterhead. Miss Parker, I wanted to personally commend you for your composure and dignity throughout what must have been a very difficult time. Your mother would be proud. It was unusual for a judge to reach out personally, but Mom's case had affected him. He'd seen families torn apart by greed before, but rarely with such clear right and wrong sides. Becca visited that weekend, bringing wine and homemade cookies. We sat on my small porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. Do you ever regret fighting them? She asked. I thought about it seriously. No. Mom trusted me to protect her wishes. I couldn't let Monica and Cal rewrite history. What about Cal? Do you miss him? I miss the brother I thought I had, but that person might never have existed. We raised our glasses to the mountains, to new beginnings, to the strength that comes from doing what's right, even when it's hard. Uncle Jack called with one final surprise. Lois, did you know the trust can be used to help other people? Your mother included provisions for charitable giving. Mom had thought of everything. The trust could fund scholarships, support caregivers, help families dealing with end-of-life expenses. I established the Martha Parker Caregiver Scholarship for daughters and sons who sacrifice careers to care for aging parents. The first recipient was a young woman named Amanda, who dropped out of nursing school to care for her grandmother. You don't know what this means, Amanda cried when I called to tell her. I thought my dreams were over. Your dreams are just beginning, I told her. My mother believed in supporting the people who support others. Sitting in my mountain cottage that evening, I felt Mom's presence like warm sunlight. They'd tried to destroy me, tried to paint me as greedy and manipulative. Instead, they'd only reminded me how strong I really am. The trust would outlive us all, helping families for generations. Monica and Cal had fought for money that would disappear in a few years. I'd fought for something permanent, love, respect, and the knowledge that sacrifice has meaning. Outside my window, the first snow was beginning to fall.